Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Wadash. I want to send double honor to the elders, apostles, and bishops at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, love, and safety is to the hopeful elect Akim out there doing this work. Much love to the scattered elect and to the few sincere women that subscribe to the true doctrine. This the brother you call Lamar for the Great Millstone Camp, the branch out here in Omaha, Nebraska. Coming back with another lesson, Lord willing, to feed and to edify the lost sheep of the nation of Israel through the Holy Spirit, Rakah Wadash. And the Israelites consist of the so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans by the seed of your father, no matter what you may look like. And I kind of want to touch on this video here that I came across, and it's dated 4 days ago, right? But something that I came across, as I had newly came across this page. It says Trump could splinter U.S. into 3 or 4 countries, right? Former Republican congressman, which I'm going to play some of this video, get some precepts off of it, but, with these recent situations that's been going on, with C. Kirk and, also with the, the train incident, there's going to be something that comes behind this. Whether these things are real or whether they're not, okay, whether they're psychological operations or whether they're actually authentic situations, something's going to come to follow, right? And this right here, just even based off of the title, it is a clear distinction that America is vehemently divided, okay? So, I want to get into a couple of precepts, fair use. I want to play some of this video. This is for educational purposes only. I'm not going to be making any type of money off of this and not looking to make any type of money off of this. This is for educational uses only. So I'm going to play this video. I'm not going to play the entire video. It's about 12 minutes long. But very good video, and I'll post it in a description box, post-production. Without further ado, let's get into it, and let's get into it.
What do you mean when you say America won't stay together? What does that mean? Civil war, ? Is that what you were talking about?
I mean, we won't be one country. I mean, we might break up into 3 or 4 countries or 6 or 7 countries. Look, I don't know what it looks like, and I don't want it to happen. All I'm saying is we've been in this place for a while. It's gotten a lot worse, and I'll bet you if you polled the American people right now, should America stay together as one country or break up and be like the EU and be a bunch of different countries? I don't know how many Americans would say it's time for a divorce. I don't know.
The death of MAGA influencer Charlie Kirk has sparked a powerful and often conflicting range of reactions, from mourning to bitter recrimination, highlighting the chasm in the political landscape in the US. Well, let's hear now from Joe Walsh, who's a former Republican congressman who's recently switched to the Democrat.
Which that's been a very controversial thing, as mentioned, C. Kirk, he was on the right side. He was a far right winger, and after that that event, you had Trump to come out and say that he automatically blamed it on those on the left, which that represents the Democratic Party, which automatically places Jake over there, because the purpose of the Democratic Party is essentially to be in favor of those who are less fortunate in a sense, and predominantly it's Jake, all right? So automatically the left side is getting blamed or getting ridiculed for that whole situation, all right? Which that's a division in itself, all right? But it's also a, me speaking as a man, it is a ploy to come down on Jake. Okay, a reasonable ploy in the eyes of the American people to come down on the left side, okay? But let's continue on.
Good afternoon, Joe.
Good to be with you.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. It's obviously a very febrile time in America at the moment. And, we heard in that clip just there from the governor, that the the suspected killer's feelings that Kirk was spreading hate. Let's just start with that point then. How divisive was Kirk, and how divided is the nation of America?
We're at each other's throats. And as I've said many times before, I don't know if this 249-year-old experiment in democracy can stay together. I mean, think about how dangerously divided we are.
And I want to get this preset, because since this incident has occurred, you've been having, those that are, I assume, leftists, that have been coming out and been celebrating after the C. Kirk incident, and from what I've seen, it's been predominantly those that look like Edomites, okay, but Jake is on the left side in this kingdom. Jake is on the Democratic side because the left side takes care of the less fortunate, okay, and the less fortunate in most situations, in 90% of situations, is the Israelites, okay. But, at the end of the day, though, this nation as America is divided, all right? So let's get this. And there's been a lot of videos coming out where, people have been getting attacked, losing their jobs, for speaking out against that situation that happened out there in Utah, okay? And, you've been having fights been breaking out, chaos been breaking out, people been getting beat up. There was even Egypt against, so I put verses. I'll just find it this way. I think it's in Isaiah. There was even a post that came out on X, which, I'll post a link to that if I can find it. I don't think I saved it. Where you had a so-called, allegedly had a BLM member come out and, say that, not as far as the C. Kirk, Salakia, not as far as C. Kirk, as far as the situation that happened in North Carolina on the bus, where, the Ukrainian woman, you had someone come out and pretty much forward it and say that was okay because of the Negroes being, or pretty much the Israelites being oppressed, which I believe to be someone who's behind the scenes, an agent to try to provoke chaos. Okay. But yeah, let's get this here. And it says I should set the Egyptian. So let's get this right. Okay, how it's worded. We'll set the Egyptian against the Egyptian. Okay, so it's Isaiah 19, okay? So it's the book of Isaiah, chapter 19 and verse 2. It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Okay, so I just forgot the S on Egyptians. That's why I couldn't find it. But the Egyptians, that represents who? That represents the Americans, man. Okay, because Egypt itself, going back to the book of Exodus 20 and verse 2, Egypt, it was the house of bondage, and this is what America is. Okay, the working class. And you see that the Egyptians are set against the Egyptians because of these situations, because of the C. Kirk, and also because of the North Carolina situation. So there's been a lot of chaos that has been coming from this. But this is what Esau Edom wants. And this is why, we over here at Great Millstone, and I'll speak for myself as well, believe that these situations could possibly just be setups to bring forth a reason for Esau to come down on Jake, man. Okay? Because here it is, allegedly, it was an Edomite that got rid of C. Kirk, but immediately it was blamed on Jake. Okay? You know, Esau is about to come down with cruel wrath once again. You know, as it was said in the book of Revelation 12:12. He's going to come down with cruel wrath. All right? So, you know, that division, let's finish this. It says, and they shall fight every one against his brother and every one against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom, right? And we see that going on all throughout the news, all right? Ever since these two situations have happened, especially the C. Kirk, there's been a lot of chaos and division, man. A lot of even in the president Donald Trump, you know, he forced the motion. You know, he automatically blames it on the left side, okay? And that's all throughout the news. You can go and see that. He blames it on the left side, all right? But let's get back into, let's get back into the video, all right? Because he said it himself. Matter of fact, let's get this precept here. And this won't be a long video. You know, very, very plain and to the point. The nation kingdom divided against itself. Okay. It's like I can't spell right now. Right. And this is the book of, that's what I wanted to get. Mark chapter 3 and verse 24. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, and America is a kingdom, okay, as America, is reaching that 250 mark of the average age of a kingdom or an empire. This is that same kingdom, and this kingdom is profusely divided. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. Not may not, but cannot stand. Okay, this is in the scriptures, and we see this place profusely divided. You know, this showing you that we're at the end of the times, man. All right, we're at the end. Okay, let's get that so I can.
Horrible act of political violence, an assassination of a private citizen 2 days ago, and the President of the United States. And I know it's dangerous because he's humanly incapable of uniting anything. But Donald Trump, right, instead of bringing the country together, instead of saying everybody stop, everybody stand down, political violence is never acceptable no matter where it comes from. Stop this. Instead of saying that, Donald Trump gets in front of cameras, like he did again this morning, and attacks half the country and attacks the left. So we're a nation at each other's throats. We're going to have to hang on for the next 3.5 years because we have the most divisive political figure this country's ever had in the White House right now.
And that's because Yahweh Shemau Shai, he has set Esau Edom up. Okay, he had the Most High prescribed this, man. Let's get this in 2nd Ezra chapter 9. Okay, 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 1. It says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee, we see division, we see chaos, we see wars and the rumors of wars. We see sedition among men. We're seeing uproars of the people. We're seeing all of this right now, okay? And Trump, he's playing a major part of that, as you heard the individual on the screen say, or not on the screen, the individual I was just speaking, this individual here, okay? He spoke of, we have the most divisive president, okay? America's not coming together off of these situations. They're, in fact, being separated. They're being divided. And they're being set against one another, as we read in the book of Isaiah 19, verse 2. Okay? So, this is how we know that we are in the end days, and this is how we're measuring these times. This is prophetic. Okay? It says, going back to 2nd Ezra 9, in 1, it says, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So we know, by these check marks in history, via prophecy, that our Lord Yahweh Shai is nigh at hand. Was that Romans 13:11? It says that our salvation is nearer than when we believed. We see these things going to pass, and this is what we've been looking for, man. And this is why the best time for us as men of the Lord to be making sure that our shit is together. Because the Most High is no respecter of persons. If we get to falling off at the end, get to getting lazy at the end, don't want to bring out these prophecies, don't want to talk about the MOTB, don't want to talk about what we see in the news, then ultimately we're going to be pulled to the side. What did the Apostle Paul say? He said, he said, necessity is laid upon me. Okay? A necessary teaching is what he had to do. A necessary getting out there and talking about what he learned. Woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel, the good news. These prophecies is good news to the elect. This is what we've been looking for, man. All right? We've been looking for situations like this. We don't provoke them. Okay? We're not out here celebrating them, celebrating C. Kirk, the C. Kirk situation. But we understand the times that we're in, and based off of scripture, based off of prophecy, we are elated, man. We're happy that the Most High is really showing forth his prophecies, man, as he said he would. Okay? Because it says that he's bound by his name. All right? So I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to close it out.
So it's a really scary time.
Yeah, well, I mean, you put it very frankly, very starkly. Just going back to that interview that you quoted Donald Trump, he was asked, how could we fix the country and come back together? And he said that he basically then, as you went on to say, blamed what he called the radical left. So, yeah, exactly. He's blamed half the country. So is there anyone around at the moment who you see doing that work of trying to bring this country back together?
So here we sit, right? It's like, and you aptly put it, so it's like our house is on fire, and what does the president do? He pours a bunch of gasoline on the fire. So forget about him. He's the enemy right now. My hope would be that other political figures and media figures would come together. Like, I'd love to see Republican and Democratic members of Congress get the hell out in the country and hold joint town halls together. Travel the country together, Democratic and Republican members of Congress, to model, right, how to have conversations. I'd love to see voices on Fox News and voices on MSNBC do the same thing.
Do you have any hope that will happen?
Hell no.
I mean, that's so depressing.
It's very depressing. This is what I would love to see happen. It won't happen. So it's up to the American people themselves to do this themselves. It's not going to be easy, which is why things are just going to get worse.
Well, I'll come back to that point in just a moment, but just picking up on...
And things are going to get worse. Things are going to get worse before they get better. The only better that's coming is the ultimate destruction of this place and the uplifting by kingdom, okay? But Esau Edom has to play out his role, okay? Was that in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 4th chapter, and the 37th verse, okay? Which says, by measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times. And as we spoke on with the 2nd Ezra 9, how do we measure those times? Via through prophecy. Which prophecy, pro meaning before, phasai meaning to speak. Speaking the things before, which the things we're speaking before, the things that Yahweh Shem Shai said was going to happen. Okay? And it says, where we at, Salakia? It says, and by number hath he numbered the times, and he doth not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled. And we went into that word stir the other day, which, breaks down to putting something in action. So these prophecies are not going to be put in action until Yahweh Shem Shai is ready for them to be put in action. And guess what? We're seeing certain prophecies, certain of these signs being put into action, being put to work. Okay? And that's why you have the men all over the world blowing the trumpet, the men of the Lord, that is. All right? So I think I'm gonna leave it there. You brothers can go and watch the rest of this video. Pretty good, very good video. I may even subscribe to this page. You know, they bring out some good information here and there. But yeah, man, I just want to bring this out, man, showing you the times that we're in and how this place is very much divided. It's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And that better, once again, like I mentioned, is the kingdom. But right now, we're watching prophecy play out. The time of Jacob's trouble is at hand. Okay? Esau, Edom is about to start moving on us. You know, those of us that are teaching this word, and he's about to be moving on you Israelites as well. Okay, as you've been seeing, he's been cracking down on these different cities. You know, St. Louis, Missouri, Memphis, Tennessee, D.C., okay, Chicago. You know, Esau's, he's not done. Esau's not done. Nero Trump is not done. He's still on the move. Okay, so, you know, this is why we have to, let's get this precept. Let's end it with this precept here in the book of Ephesians. I believe it's 3:25, I think. No, not 25. Is it? Let me see. I'll just type it in circumspectly. Five and 15. Okay, so like it. So I was way off. This is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. It says, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise." And that circumspect, going into around, spec air means to look around, full circle. You know, looking at the world news, looking at what's going on around you, domestically, but also on a broad scale, to see how does this play in with prophecy. Okay, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. We're living in bad times right now. Okay, and hey, this is what we understand to be faithful and true, as the scriptures tell us that there's going to be a time such as never was since there was a nation. Okay, a time like never, man. Okay, and this is the times that we're living in. There's going to be a time like never. All right, so, you know, we have to walk circumspectly. We have to make sure that we're keeping our head on a swivel, and, you know, being up on that watchtower and giving that distinct sound of the trumpet. All right. So with that being said, you know, I do pray that this is edifying. Once again, I'll leave that video in the post description. You know, and I'll give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh. Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham Rakha HaKodash. Double honor to the elders, apostles, and the bishops at Great Millstone. Peace, love, and safety is to the hopeful elect Akim out there. Shalom.